Have you noticed that the things which once excited you now feel strangely empty? Tell me in the comments, when did you first realize that your passion for the world was fading? Imagine yourself sitting in the same chair where, only a year ago, you would have leapt up at the ping of a new message, the promise of a weekend plan, the flicker of a screen announcing the next episode, the next purchase, the next goal. Now the chair holds you like an old friend who has run out of stories, and the ping arrives as a faint echo in a canyon you no longer wish to cross. The coffee tastes the same, yet it no longer wakes anything inside you. The music plays, but the notes drift past like polite strangers who have mistaken your address. You scroll, you swipe, you nod at the appropriate moments in conversation, and all the while, a quiet voice yours, though you scarcely recognize it, whispers, "Is this all?" Not in despair, mind you, but in the mild astonishment of a child who has just discovered that the magician's rabbit was never in the hat to begin with. This is not depression, that heavy coat of gray that drags the shoulders down and paints the future monochrome. No, this is detachment, a feather-light uncoupling from the carnival you once believed was the only show in town. The rides still spin, the cotton candy still dissolves into sweetness, the barkers still shout their promises of thrill, but you stand at the gate with your ticket unused, watching the colored lights reflect in eyes that are no longer your own. The world has not dimmed. Your eyes have opened wider, and in that wider gaze the bulbs reveal themselves as mere glass and wire, ingenious yet ultimately transparent. Picture a radio dial sliding past stations. Once you camped on one frequency: career, romance, reputation, the exquisite ache of wanting, and every song was written for you alone. Now the dial keeps moving, not out of restlessness, but because the static between stations has grown more interesting than the music. The old songs still play, yet they arrive as if from underwater, muffled by a depth you did not know you had entered. Your friends speak of promotions and weddings and the latest series everyone must watch, and you smile, the smile of someone translating a foreign language in real time, nodding while the subtitles run somewhere behind your eyes. You are not bored. Exactly. Boredom implies a hunger for something else. This is closer to the silence after a symphony ends, when the final chord has vanished and the audience forgets to applaud because the air itself is still vibrating. What has happened, in the gentlest terms, is that consciousness has outgrown its clothing. The desires that once fit you like a tailored suit now hang loose at the shoulders, the cuffs dragging in the dust. You reach for the old excitements: another city to conquer, another lover to complete you, another gadget to extend your reach, and your hand passes through them as through smoke. They dissolve not because they are worthless, but because they were measured against a yardstick you no longer carry. The yardstick was made of lack. I will be happy when. I will be whole when. I will matter when. And now the lack itself has lost its grip, like a shadow that cannot decide where to fall when the sun is directly overhead. Think of a child who builds an elaborate sandcastle, moat and turrets and flags of seaweed, defending it against the tide with the fierce conviction that this is permanence. Hours pass, the tide comes in regardless, and the child watches the walls soften, the moat fill, the flags droop. There is a moment, brief, almost embarrassing in its clarity, when the child realizes the castle was never the point. The joy was in the shaping, the wet slap of sand on sand, the imagination that turned grains into kingdoms. The tide is not cruel. It is simply the ocean remembering itself. In the same way, your disinterest is not a betrayal of life, but life's way of erasing the chalk lines so the game can begin again on a larger field. The colors do not fade. They recede into a spectrum you can now see around. Where once you saw red as urgency, you now notice the infrared hum beneath it, the slow pulse of Earth turning. Where blue was melancholy, you catch the ultraviolet shimmer of sky that has never known a name. The world has not lost vibrancy. You have lost the filter that translated vibrancy into need. And in that unfiltered gaze, the ordinary reveals itself as miracle. The way light fractures in a droplet on the window, the precise angle at which a stranger's laugh catches the ear, the unspoken agreement between your lungs and the air that has traveled from a forest you will never visit. These were always there, but they lived in the margins of your hunger, footnotes to the main text of getting and keeping. You may worry that this detachment is a kind of death, a preview of the coffin's quiet. Yet death is not the absence of interest, but the absence of choice. And you are choosing moment by moment to notice what remains when the fireworks burn out. The silence after noise is not empty. It is pregnant with the next sound, though you cannot yet guess its shape. The stillness after chaos is not paralysis. It is the pause in which the dancer gathers the energy for a leap no choreography has predicted. What feels like loss is merely the dismantling of a stage set so flimsy that the wind of your own awakening has begun to blow it apart, plank by painted plank, until the horizon widens and you see that the play was always improvisational. There is humor in this if you lean in close enough to hear it. The cosmic joke that the moment you stop chasing meaning, meaning begins to chase you, though it wears no name tag and refuses to announce its intentions. You, who once scheduled joy in 15-minute increments between meetings, now find it pooling in the cracks of a sidewalk where ants carry crumbs larger than their head. You, who curated a life like a museum exhibit, discover that the dust motes dancing in a sunbeam are the real installation. Free admission, no velvet ropes. The universe, it turns out, has been winking at you all along, and only now do you wink back without needing to know what the wink is for. So breathe into this strange neutrality, this neither here nor there that feels like floating in warm water after a lifetime of swimming laps. The old currents still swirl, but they no longer dictate your stroke. Something is ending. Yes, the era of mistaking the menu for the meal, the map for the territory, the echo for the voice, and in the space where the echo fades, a different voice begins to form. Not louder, but deeper, the kind that speaks in the bones before it reaches the ears. You are not losing the world. You are losing the version of yourself that needed the world to be a certain way in order to feel alive. Perhaps losing interest is not the end of meaning, but the beginning of truth. The carnival lights still blink, but the switch inside you has flipped to off. One morning you wake and the career ladder looks like a child's drawing stick figures climbing toward a sun that is only a yellow circle. The promotion you chased for years arrives in an email and you read it the way you read the weather. Noted, filed, forgotten. Colleagues toast your name, the champagne taste of metal and effort. You smile, because smiling is the last habit the body remembers when the mind has already left the party. This is the collapse not of the world, but of the scaffolding you nailed to it. Desires that once roared like engines now sputter and stall midair, dropping like spent fireworks into the sea. The lover who completed your sentences now finishes them for you, and the completion feels like a door closing. The city you moved to for its pulse now throbs like a headache you no longer need to cure. Money accumulates in the account, yet the numbers look like hieroglyphs from a civilization that forgot what it was counting. Watch it happen in slow motion. The gourmet meal arrives, art on a plate, and your tongue registers flavors without sending postcards to the soul. The concert crowd surges, arms aloft, while you stand in the same body but on a different planet, hearing the bass as geology rather than invitation. You buy the new garment, wear it once, and it joins the others in the closet like retired flags of countries you no longer represent. Each collapse is painless, almost courteous, as if the desire itself bows and says, "My work here is done." The paradox is exquisite. The more the external loses power, the more powerful the inner weather becomes. A single breath can eclipse 1,000 notifications. The space between heartbeats contains libraries. You walk past billboards screaming, "Buy this and be happy," and the slogan lands like a joke told in a language you have quietly unlearned. Happiness, it turns out, was never the opposite of sadness, but the absence of the salesman. People will call it burnout, midlife crisis, privileges boredom. Let them label. Labels are luggage you no longer check. The collapse is surgical. It removes only what was borrowed. The house, the title, the curated image, each peels away like old paint revealing the grain beneath. What remains is not emptiness but room, the kind architects dream of before they ruin it with furniture. You feared the fall. Instead, you discover you were the scaffolding all along, and the building was always the sky. There is a gentle comedy in watching the ego try to negotiate its surrender. It offers deals, just one more goal, then we'll rest. It drafts 5-year plans on napkins that dissolve in the rain, It refreshes the feed, hoping for a miracle that looks like validation. Meanwhile, the deeper current carries you past the harbor, past the buoys, into water so clear you can see the anchors you once dragged, now resting on sand, rusting into art. The desires do not vanish, they transmute. Where once you wanted the corner office, you now want the exact temperature of tea that lets the steam draw faces on the window. Where once you wanted the perfect partner, you now want the silence in which two people can hear their own blood without needing to comment on it. The scale has flipped. Micro becomes macro, and the universe fits inside a dewdrop without crowding. Do not mourn the collapse. It is the sound of training wheels coming off. The bicycle wobbles, yes, but the path was never the pavement, it was balance itself. Something vast is inhaling the small certainties you mistook for oxygen. Exhale with it. Let the old empire crumble into compost. Under the rubble, seeds you planted in forgotten summers are already pushing green through the cracks, reaching for a sun that never needed your permission to rise. The collapse is not destruction. It is demolition with a wink. The wrecking ball swings to music only the walls can hear, and when the dust settles, you will walk through the open space barefoot, astonished at how little you need to feel the ground. The debris has settled. Where the scaffolding stood, there is now a clearing so complete that the wind forgets its own name. You step into it, and the silence is not quiet, it is loud with absence. No goals whistle past, no desires tug the sleeve, no future dangles its carrot. The mind, that tireless travel agent, cancels all bookings and hands back the tickets with a shrug. Here is the void. Not a black hole, but a white room, whose walls are made of your own reflection, infinitely receding. At first you pace, looking for the exit that was never built. You call out and the echo returns, wearing your childhood face, asking why you stopped playing. You sit, stand, lie down. Each posture lasts exactly as long as it takes to notice it is borrowed from a life that no longer fits. Time loses its job and lounges in the corner, smoking the minutes like cigarettes it never intends to finish. A day, a week measurement itself becomes a quaint folk dance performed by people on the other side of a pain you can no longer locate. This is the infamous dark night, but darkness implies contrast, and here contrast has taken a holiday. The void is not depressing. Depression still has opinions. This is the absence of opinion, the 0 point, where even I am bored would require an I sturdy enough to hold the boredom. And the I has gone diffuse, like ink in water. You reach for sadness and your hand passes through it. You reach for joy and it slips between the fingers like warm sand. Emotions arrive as weather reports from a country you have quietly seceded from. Watch the mind try its old tricks. It conjures phantom desires, perhaps a sudden craving for chocolate, for sex, for a trending cause, and parades them like cardboard cutouts. You observe the parade with the mild interest of a museum guard on the night shift. The cutouts topple in slow motion, revealing the strings, the puppeteer, the child who once believed the show was real. Laughter bubbles up, not because anything is funny, but because the absurdity has achieved perfect pitch. The void is the ultimate comedy club. No cover charge, no punchline, just the cosmic mic drop of realizing the joke was always on the teller. People will worry. Are you okay? They text, and the question lands like a postcard from a resort you never booked. You type back a thumbs up because language is still the polite fiction we agree to speak. Inside, the thumbs up is neither true nor false. It is a cloud shaped like a hand. Meanwhile, your body keeps its appointments, showers, teeth, the small choreography of survival, while the pilot light of awareness burns, steady, untended, using no fuel you can name. There is a temptation to fill the void with noise. Another course, another lover, another spiritual hashtag. The temptation feels like offering a symphony orchestra to a deaf man who has just discovered silence is a kind of music. Resist not through willpower. Willpower is another piece of debris, but through the sheer exhaustion of pretending. The void is a fast that starves only the illusions. The real nourishment was never on the menu. Beneath the floorboards of this white room, something breathes. You cannot hear it yet, only feel the faint pressure against the soles of your feet, like standing on the skin of a sleeping animal the size of continents. The void is not empty. It is pregnant with a presence that has no interest in announcing itself. It waits the way night waits for the last street lamp to burn out, patient as geology. Your job is not to summon it, but to stop blocking the doorway with furniture made of old certainties. A strange alchemy occurs. The less you need, the more you receive. Not things are still on vacation, but texture. The way light pools in the crease of a curtain. The exact weight of a spoon against the lip. The microscopic pause between the bird's two-note call. These arrive unbidden, precise as haiku, and you realize the void has been curating an exhibition of the ordinary. Admission-free, no captions required. Meaning does not return. It is revealed to have been the white space between the lines all along. Do not mistake the void for the destination. It is the airlock between atmospheres, the decompression chamber where the spacesuit of personality is gently removed. You float, weightless, neither pushing away nor pulling closer. The ego, that loyal narrator, finally runs out of pronouns and falls asleep mid-sentence. In its dreams, it still climbs mountains, but the mountains are made of the same substance as the climber, and the summit is wherever the foot lands next. One day or one non-day, the breathing beneath the floorboards synchronizes with your own. You do not notice the moment. Noticing would require a witness separate from the event. There is only the seamless inhale of a larger lung, and in that inhale the white room begins to tint. Not with color, but with possibility, the way the sky before dawn refuses to choose between black and blue. The void has done its work. It has hollowed you into an instrument tuned to a note that has not yet been played. Stay. There is no rush. The universe is an excellent host. It never evicts a guest who has finally learned to sit without fidgeting. Something is gathering, not as a plan, but as a weather front, warm and moisture-laden, moving across the inner planes. You feel it in the softening of the sternum, the way the jaw forgets its habitual clench. The void is not the end of the story. It is the margin where the real text begins to write itself, letter by letter, in ink that only appears when you stop trying to read ahead. And so you rest in the incomparable stillness, a seed in the dark that has forgotten it was ever anything but potential. The collapse cleared the stage, the void swept it clean. Soon though, soon as a word the void has retired, the curtain will rise on a play whose script is your own heartbeat, amplified. For now, float. The water is fine, and the depth is exactly enough. From the void's white hush, a single green thread pushes through your chest, no trumpet, just dawn in the ribs. Old desires return as guests, not landlords, bowing to the host who needs nothing. Work becomes play, love a mirror without frame. You walk the same streets, but the pavement hums your name in Morse. Purpose is no longer a target, it is the arrow, remembering it is also the bow. Welcome home. The world was always waiting inside the silence you finally stopped filling.